I'll
No
find
problem.
Marge's in time.
Got your words down for it, posterity down.
All right, can you guys see the screen?
Yes,
All right, so this is the resulting image of what I have submitted to Pat and was sent over maybe to the Japanfest people. And this is where I started. So this image right now is before any application of any filters, corrections or whatnot. This is the out of camera or straight out of the camera SOCC image. And this is what I ended up with. So the first thing I did in this was to make sure that I had my geometry correct and my levels adjusted correctly, and so that there were no wrong lines, no tilt or anything like that. And then next was to adjust a global arrangement after making sure the chromatic aberrations and the profile for the lens were all applied to it. The major part in this work was applying all these masks. The first mask here was applied to the front end of the photograph, which was quite bright. So I took that down significantly to match the color with the surrounding area over here. The next thing was to mask this upper portion of this gentleman and to brighten it up a little bit. Then I selected all the subjects and brightened them as well, and maybe sharpen them a bit. This guy on the back didn't need any additional brightening. And finally, in this mask, I corrected that little sunshiny bit that was on his leg, right by his shoes, on his trousers. So if you think this image is, kind of flat, but it's slightly better in terms of brightness and pulling out the person who matters most at this image, which was the speaker, he's pulled out by brightening the image quite a bit compared to the rest of the photograph. So that's my 2-minute spiel. If you have any questions, I would love to answer them.
that was well done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Omen, I thought you were going to talk more, buddy.
You mean you haven't found the lost picture yet?
Yeah, I found it, but it's not in Lightroom, so oh well. So here is Marge Kinder's photo, and Judy, because I thought the others were yours were Marge's, if you can just talk about them when Marge finishes talking
Sure.
about this one.
I'll be happy to take credit for Judy's work.
Okay, are you guys seeing it?
Yes.
Okay, good.
So, so that's it. That was what I took. I don't know. I mean, think that this is the original photograph. So I know I had to leave the session the night that we were looking to, to make edits and such. So the only thing that was recommended, according to my understanding, was that shadow on the upper left of her face was. Did you guys actually do that? Did you take it out, Umid, or did you just?
I did.
Yeah,
Can you talk about
Margie
how you
did
did
in
it,
another
maybe?
photo, which I don't have.
So if somebody else jumps in instead of you right now, I'll find that image and I'll show you guys. Is that okay?
You bet.
Okay.
Well, Marge, while is looking for it, why don't you talk about capturing the moment? I mean, because it's pretty compelling, because you basically got her second drumstick just up in the air.
Yeah,
And
well, yeah, they were drumming and flipping their drumsticks, and so, I just wanted to try and capture, it in the air. So.
Did you
pretty
do that
simple.
at a single frame at a time or multiple?
No, I
And-
was using multiple frames on a low frames per second. I'm not
Okay.
exactly sure what it is. I think I had it on 5 frames per second.
Yeah, I was thinking, say, if not, that was pretty good timing.
Well, actually, yes, now that I think about it, it was just a single shot.
Okay. Whatever. However you got it, it turned out well.
Yeah.
So that was really perfect timing on your part.
Yeah.
And just to make sure everyone understands, Marge got this absolutely crystal tack sharp there. So really could not be sharper than it is, especially considering the shutter speed and the action in it. So
Yeah.
Marge, nice job.
Thank
So
you.
I'm going to unshare.
Yes, please.
You're on.
So this is the area that was dark because of her arm. And what I did is I put a mask over it. And the mask settings are where I added 0.75 on brightness, increase the shadows a little bit, and increase the whites. So I'll enlarge it a little bit more and hide and show
Oh,
the
Did,
mask.
Uma,
I-
did you do that in Photoshop?
I did that in Adobe Raw Converter,
Okay,
which is the develop module of Lightroom.
okay,
So the library module of the Lightroom is Bridge. The develop module is the raw converter. And then the print module is also present in Photoshop portion, but Photoshop is not present in Lightroom. So if you go into your Lightroom and make a mask, if you want to do a screen grab right now, you can do a screen grab. That's Command-Shift-3 for you. And
Command Shift and 3.
yeah,
all at the same time.
Oh. Yeah, I'm just getting a little blip. It's not
Okay.
doing it.
anyhow, so
Make sure
that's
it's Command, not Control,
Command.
not doing it.
Okay. So that's the only thing I did for this image. Otherwise, this image was perfect. Even
Yeah.
with the shadow, it is very nice. But that was the one thing that I thought you might want to change.
Yeah,
One other thing that you could do, although not necessary, is if you think these highlights on the drums are, distracting, I
Mhm.
would take the healing brush and, just take out these
Oh,
white spots.
yeah.
Which we didn't do when we were looking at it the other day.
Huh, yeah. Yeah, that draws more attention to the drummer.
Right. So the one thing it did do here is that it repeated the pattern a little bit too much. So what I would do is come in and take and move this somewhere else. Or undo it and do it again so that Photoshop selects some other location.
Yeah, I like that. What about that, kind of that elongated triangular, up in the upper right of the picture?
This section here,
Yeah,
of course, you could eliminate that as well. You could come in with again, healing brush. And don't like that. So
I like it better with it.
yeah, come down here, do one portion, use a smaller brush, do this portion. And I think this, yeah, looks better this way.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, again, yeah, those were distractions that you didn't even know were distractions, till you took them out.
You're right. And if you want to go even further, then you can come back and create a additional mask, grab a brush and reset your brush, take it about 1.5 stops. And paint over this area. And make so that way you may have even less distraction than before. So you could do something like that. So you got almost a
Yeah.
monolithic background.
would you be one of those where you could select subjects and then inverse it and get rid of that?
You could. It will probably select this area as well when you do that, and it will select the drums. Because if you do select subject and then I invert it, so it's gonna selected the drums and everything else.
Well, then you get into where you want to deduct part of it or add to it or whatever.
Right. So I think it will be easier to come in and just gently brush around what you need to select or don't want to select. For example, come around here.
Well, I'd be hard to get along with because I liked it all the way back with a little pink triangle on it.
Mm-hmm,
So
yeah. I think I do too.
so
It's almost like it's a directing line. The way that it looks like
Yeah.
it's projecting downward, it's like pointing at them.
So you could do this if
Mhm.
that's what
Yeah.
you want. But if you don't like that, so you can.
Yeah, I like that one. Yeah.
I mean, for one other thing you could do is come in and clone this shadow out if you like.
I don't know, I kind of like the shadow.
Yeah.
You know, it just directs your eye from left to right.
We all get back to the same thing. Whatever the photographer likes is correct.
Yeah.
And since Marge was the photographer, whatever she says goes.
That's exactly right.
Did you
It's
hear
nice to
that,
be in
Pat?
charge, isn't it, Marge?
Well, yeah.
All right,
Thank you, Umit.
my pleasure.
So Pat, did you want to have me go next?
Yeah, I'm gonna bring you up here in just a minute.
All right, or I could share my screen, depends
Oh,
on.
if you got it, that's fine.
Yeah, I
Uh,
can do that.
yeah, sure, of course.
Let's see. Let me know if that's working.
Yeah, good.
It's working.
Okay. So this is my photo. Umit made some improvements on it. So from here, he made this great thing a little less obvious, disappeared it in the back, and he changed the exposure on this a little bit. So, but I can show you where it started out, and you've got to promise me not to laugh at me too much, but there it is. And I'm having a problem with my Lightroom where I get this blue cast to it. You know, it's really strange, but you know, when during the course of the event, things happen so fast, as you certainly understand. And what I was trying to do is practice a little bit in terms of, you know, when people are moving, how do you take the pictures of movement? And I cannot say I was totally successful. And of course, that is what this started out to be.
Judy,
And then,
I
If
think
you, if you
I
go
think
up to your
blue is
histogram,
just where Lightroom is telling you where you have black.
yeah, if you go up to your histogram on that leftmost triangle, unclick it, it'll revert.
just like that. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I wasn't sure what was going on with that.
You're jamming, Rick.
So what, can you just explain what you did?
I clicked on that little thing right there. So I guess it
But what did that do?
got rid of that blue.
The
It shows pure
histogram,
black.
the histogram in Lightroom is set up so that if you want to, it will show you extreme dark black areas and extreme overexposed areas. And so if you have it, if you click directly on that up pointing arrow on the left side, that's telling you, I want to know where all the blacks are, and they show up as blue. If you do it on the right side, it'll show you where all the blown out areas are, and I think they show up as red.
Yes,
If I go like that,
So you have to
See, on the-
initiate that click.
See on the left-hand side of your picture now, go back to, I thought I saw the red show up. Maybe not.
There's hardly any.
I don't think
No,
she
it's hardly
has
any,
any.
yeah.
I don't think she has any parts blown out in here.
no. Just take the highlights just to show all the way to the right,
Yeah,
the highlights, yeah.
you mean like
the
that?
the slider. The
You're
control.
just gonna shove it. There you
Like that,
go.
oh, like
You
that.
just keep going.
Keep
Yeah,
Oh,
going.
I
see how
see,
it lights up?
I go like that.
Yeah,
There you
see
go.
how red is showing up now on the men's clothing?
Mhm.
Yeah, like.
So those are the areas that are blown out.
So I'm gonna get rid of that.
Luckily,
I
you
was
know
trying-
Control Z.
Yeah, I did my Control Z, but now I'm looking at my history. And there we go. All right. So after I imported it, obviously I had quite a few things I had to do with it right here. So between cropping it, and I played with the crop a little bit to try to figure out what I liked. And of course I straightened it up a little bit. And then I dealt with white balance, work with profiles to decide which profile I liked. And then I went through the sliders and just went ahead and did all the various sliders to play with it and see how I liked it. So it was looking better and better and better. Dehaze and exposure. And then ultimately I sent this over to my Topaz denoise and got rid of all the noise. Then I exported it to Photoshop and got rid of this. This was a screen, you know, big screen overhead to show everybody what was going on. So I thought that was pretty distracting. And then of course I cut down the crop on this. So I don't have all of those adjustments ultimately. Of course, it ended up something like that. So, but the real challenge to me was to catch something where it looked halfway decent to get started. And then of course, the rest was just the, you know, the adjustments on the screen. But that was pretty much what that was all about.
Nicely done.
Well, thank you.
Hey, Judy, while you're there, did you want to talk about the sword play? Your
I could-
your last two?
Yeah, because I could do the other one. Here we go, this one here. So this was the other one I had submitted. And on that one, let me find my Lightroom. That started, find that. Like that. And so you see, I had a lot of stuff I had crop out of that. So it's the same thing, you know, dealt with a lot of the sliders here, because in this case, I didn't crop it down yet. I played with the sliders, decided where I wanted to be with some of this stuff. I did somewhere along here, I did a mask to kind of help the clarity on the faces. I forgot where I did that. Maybe it's part of this clarity here. And then going through the dehaze and white balance, then turned it into something I liked a little bit better. Camera profile. And then I just played with the crop to figure out where I wanted it to be. As you see, I played with it quite a bit before I found where I wanted to be on it. Ultimately, and you know, I think Umit, on this one too, you had added a little bit on the sides. Because I did cut it in a little too much. But I did send it through dehaze also. And ultimately, when we got to the last version here, so Umit added in some here with that content aware on the Photoshop. And then he worked a little bit up here, you know, to get rid of some of the brightness up here. And so that was that. Oh, and then that's right. You remove this guy back here because he's a little, as much as we like him, he was important. He was a little bit distracting to the action.
Actually, it was Pat who did all that stuff. I didn't have anything to do with this image.
So Pat, it was all your fault to get rid of the guy. So that was that. Any questions, comments?
No.
So I will stop sharing so somebody else can go.
Hey, Rick, you're up.
Okay. All right.
Oh,
You
nice.
see my dancer and her dragon?
Nice.
Nice.
I loved this composition, and it seems to me I crawled right up to the front of the stage to be able to get this angle. And I looked at it in Lightroom and I said, this thing is nothing but clutter. All the way around my subjects, but the subjects are foreground, so I should be able to do something about it. So with that said, Move you guys out of the way for a second here. So what I did over here, aside from some white balance correction on the original raw file, I took highlights way down because I had some stuff blown out up here, upper right of the histogram. And that's your basic net lens correction. And that's about it in the raw form. Then my process now is almost always to run it through Topaz Denoise AI, which I did. So when it comes back, I've got a TIFF file that I'm working on. And that's the final output. And what I realized was there was just so much clutter in the original version that I wanted all of the background gone. It's the only thing I could think to do to make this image usable. So I know I used initially, I think I used subject. Let's see. No, okay, so that's a brush. That's a brush on the dragon's tail. That's a brush on just her fan, which was too dark. I had to lighten up the back part of the fan. There's pretty much the whole subject selected and made some adjustments on those. So you can see I had a lot of masks. I inverted it so I could affect just the background. And that's really the key adjustment here is the background. So subjects were selected using the select subject, and then I had to use a brush to add in an awful lot of stuff, and I had to subtract some stuff. And by the way, when you get things like this horn sticking up here, that things that are small detail, you've got to zoom in to do that stuff, to really do that fine work with a brush. So this photo took me a long time. It was a lot of work to do it. But once I got the background isolated, I basically just took the exposure to 0 and took to all the way down. And I took the blacks all the way down.
Okay.
And just completely blew it all out. And once you do that, then if there's any issues with your edges, you can kind of see them and you can go back and fix it a little bit. But
Could you
that's
choose a
that'd be the one
different
I would go.
background color?
What's that?
Can you choose a different background color besides black?
I'm sure you can. I haven't done it, but yeah, I think you could just paint that whole thing, probably any color in the palette. I know you could certainly do that in Photoshop.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think Photoshop.
Most of the adjustments on the subjects were enhancing these colors, and in particular, and again, they're almost all done by brushes. I didn't do a lot of global work on this one. Like this mask, highlights down, shadows up, a little bit more adjustment for the lighting. But I increased texture and just a little bit clarity. And that gives you a little bit more detail, and it makes the lines, the dividing lines between the different colors sort of pop. And I know I did some color stuff. And that probably is global. Here we go. So I picked up the luminance on both the red and the orange to make these colors come off a little bit stronger on the screen. And I increased the set. Actually, I didn't on this one. I didn't even add any saturation. So the light was pretty decent on the subjects. So the colors were actually okay. They didn't need a lot of work, but man, the background just, that was driving me nuts. So many of the shots that I came out of there had lots and lots of clutter, behind them. And so it's a matter of how you choose to address it. You can mitigate some of that, or you can kill it. This photograph, for instance, I decided it wasn't worth trying to get rid of that. So I basically just made changes to the area that was the most important to me in here, and let the background be kind of what it was.
I love that photo. That is amazing with those lines on it
Thank you.
with the light.
Yeah, I took a lot of shots of them when they had the lighted drumsticks, but my favorite was this one where they all threw their heads back.
Yeah, and it shows a fifth of a second, which is fast, but still slow down a little bit.
Yeah, exactly, 1/5 of a second. So most of those, what I was doing was bringing the ISO down, because originally I was shooting at ISO 5000 or higher for most of these shots. So you see here, it's only ISO 1250. I brought the ISO down until I could get a slow enough shutter to give me some smearing. And so that's what happened there. And then just because I had it prepared, Pat, because I didn't know what we were doing, I went ahead, prepared 3 photos. Sometimes at a big event like this, I like to just shoot something completely off the wall that I know pretty much nobody else is going to see. And these dolls happen to be hanging in one of the booths. For any of you who had the courage to walk through between those booths, that got to be very challenging to do with all those people. But I liked this, but again, I got a lot of clutter back here. The colors aren't really very strong. So this one was a much easier edit, but that's what I ended up with. And I just kind of increased the vibrance on the yellows and the red a little bit. And again, I painted out the background, just painted it down to nothing. So those are my shots.
Nice touch to those.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
Get rid
very
of that
well
little
done.
bit.
I will stop sharing. There we go.
And Anand, you're up, please.
Okay, so let me share my screen here.
Hey, Rick, I really like how you blew out the background on the dragon and the lady.
Mhm,
Mhm.
It really made it work nicely.
yeah. Brought her
Thank you. That
face
makes
out a
me feel
lot better
hearing
too.
that, because that one photo probably took me an hour and a half. So I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah,
Come on, baby.
So this picture basically was on timing. I didn't have the Adobe. I got it only yesterday actually, so I've not done any edits. So whatever pictures I took, it was all based on timing. I needed that Ochiwa, the fixed fan, to be opened up and fully present. So I was waiting for her to open it. She shakes a lot, right? The fan and her movements. So I wanted a shot where I could see those tube lights on top, if you see the lights there in the background. At the same time, the focus only on her. So this was a timing shot more than anything else. Actually, all my shots are timing shots. So this show, I believe, happens twice a day. So in the morning time frame, I couldn't capture her because I was on the other side of the stage. So I had to come in the afternoon, I had to come all the way to the right side of the stage to capture this image. So that's how I ended up with this one. I'm still yet to clean up the shadows there and also the background. I want to make it a little more darker, the background. But I wanted exactly this fan beside her face. So this was a timing shot more than anything else. Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. Good timing.
Great
Mhm.
timing.
Thank you. And then this one was the other one, which is again a timing one where I wanted to see the dragon with his head, upside down, drinking the poison. So no edits done, uh, but I needed the shot standing right opposite the dragon. In the morning I couldn't get it, so afternoon I made sure that I'll be at the right spot. Fortunately, I got it. Um, no edits done yet. So I need to darken the background, the bottom part of the background. If you see, there is the Pocari Sweet ad behind the scenes. So that got covered luckily by this dragon's body. So the advertisement of Pocari Sweet is not present here. Fortunately, it was just a matter of luck that the dragon covered it and I got the shot I needed. with the dragon's face fully upside down trying to drink the poison. So this was another of those timing shots. I waited and finally got it. Yeah.
Great
Then-
capture.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Thank you. And one, of course, what I like the most, but I don't have any clue of how to edit, was this lady with her hairs. You know, if you see, I got her to jump and then her hairs to swing, but there's no way to edit this lady's hair because it blends extremely well with the curtain of the stage. So that was the hard part, but I just I'm still thinking how best to edit this so that I can get to showcase her hair flying. Um, this was another of those timing shots where I waited to capture her jumping, um, but it's very hard to edit this um, because the colors are blending, and how do we differentiate it? I have no clue, but I have to think through that. So this was the other one. I think uh, I I felt good about taking, but there's no way to. Pat had warned me that the lighting is not good, Aaron. It's not just the lighting here; also the hair blends extremely well with the curtain, right? So it's very hard to just get her motion captured. So
Anand,
yeah,
I think if you were to take a brush and paint over her hair,
Mhm.
okay.
zoom in so you can see exactly where you are. You don't want to paint that background drape or whatever that is back there. But if you were to just paint her hair and lift either clarity or texture or both a little bit, because you have some highlights in there that will help it stand out. And I'll bet you, in particular texture, I think if you were to paint that with texture and crank it up a little bit,
Okay.
that hair will pop out a little bit more.
Oh, got it. Got it. Okay. So I have to play around
Worth a
with.
try. Worth a
Yeah.
try.
I will. I will. But that's one of the lessons learned as well. Maybe my angle should have been with a background on the left side of the wall instead of the back of the wall. So that was one of the lessons learned here. But yeah.
Nice
Yeah.
action photo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great photo.
Thank you. So yeah, those are my three photos.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Nan. It's really amazing you being as new to the business as you are, just kind of getting that nice shot there.
Thanks. I'm learning from each of these sessions. So a lot of knowledge gets exchanged, and if you see anything that has happened here, it's because I have to capture that knowledge that is getting shared. And that's what I'm doing here. Literally, I have to thank all the members here who continuously share information. Thank you very
Well,
much.
just so you know, the learning from your peers part never stops.
Never.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And the tool, the Adobe has so many things to learn. I mean, there's a humongous amount of features in it. Yeah, I'm just getting started.
It's called practice, practice, practice too.
I know. You said it before, Alice. I know. Absolutely. Thanks for the encouragement. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Nan. Can I get you to unshare, please, and we'll move on?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark had a meeting this evening, so we're just going to show Mark stuff. He gave me some text to read to help explain everything. So I'm hoping you can see the stuff happening here. Oh, yeah, here's Judy's photo before, and there it is after. Probably the big thing is that I saw was losing the guy, the
Yeah.
third guy, and perhaps lightening the costumes or the garments just a little bit. And some other stuff was done, of course, but before and after. So Amanda and Karen, I know that you both weren't there. So probably my question I always have is, whenever I go to a venue, what do I have to shoot at? So here's Judy shooting at 102/50th of a second at f4.2. Judy, I think you had a zoom on, didn't you?
There's no doubt, yes.
Okay, oh, there it is right there.
Yeah.
18:300, my
Yeah.
bad. But if you notice, Judy's shooting at ISO 4500. Rick, I think you said you were doing 3,000 or even higher, weren't you?
I was shooting 5,000 or higher almost
5,000,
almost the entire time in there.
Which
So,
is why we had the noise that we had to go fix.
Yeah, I'm lucky there. My particular camera can shoot even at 10,000 with very little noise. It's real handy.
well, here's Mark. He's doing 1,000th of a second, which makes sense with the action that's happening here at 2.8. So his zoom is wide open. He's got a 70 to 200 zoom right here, and he's shooting at 115 millimeters of it. And his ISO is 4,000. Amanda and Karen, one thing you probably heard Judy said, and Marge too, was that they are using the Topaz product denoise to help bring down the kind of scratchiness in the background that noise typically interjects into a photo. Lightroom and Photoshop do it, but I speak for myself. Rick, would you say that the Topaz denoise product is better than what Photoshop would do?
Yeah, hands down. I wish it weren't because you have to pay extra for it, obviously, but
yeah.
it just does a better job. And I also find that its algorithms for sharpening combined with denoise are often spot on. Sometimes I've got to back them down a little bit from what the program suggests, but you actually end up with not only a less noisy image, but a sharper image.
So Umid, I think you're a Topaz denoise as well, aren't you?
Yes, I am. And about 3 weeks to a month ago, Topaz decided to bundle the denoise, sharpen, and gigapixel into a single package. And I think it is right now for 79 or thereabouts, or maybe it is 110, and it was $40 off for about 2 weeks, which ended at the beginning of this month. So now you can, and it's called Photo AI. So you click on the photograph, take it to Photo AI, it analyzes the photograph and decides on what to sharpen and what to denoise. And as Rick said earlier, you can change the amount of denoise and amount of sharpening. But also, when you are sharpening, it gives you an option of motion blur versus lens blur. So it sharpens differently depending on whether it is out of focus or if it is a motion blur. So you got different algorithms to sharpen an image.
Thanks, Umid.
Sure.
So what Marcus said here, he shot it in manual using auto ISO. So basically, he set the aperture to 2.8, shutter speed to 1/1000th, and then he basically told the camera, you figure out what the auto ISO should be. And so it drew it up to 4,000 for Mark. He wanted to keep a fast shutter to freeze the action, and the lighting had hot spots on the stage. What he's referring to is the lights were focusing on different points, and they weren't always on the actors. So that's what he's talking about here. He's saying that auto ISO allowed me to keep the shutter speed and aperture the same for all the shots during the exhibition. He was standing behind the seating area. He arrived late when those seats were open, but he was able to zoom in at 115 millimeter to just to kind of do it. So I think he did a pretty nice job there.
Yeah, he did.
Yep.
Amazing. Yeah.
Mark's next shot is the Red Dragon. ISO 3200, 3.2 aperture. And this time he went with 190. So basically he zoomed out in anymore. So he zoomed in tighter into the image and really had a very nice effect here. It's funny, he said that he arrived late, but I distinctly remember him on one of these series being in the very first row, the first thing. So I guess he learned his lesson when he was shooting something else, because he was right up front of the stage and got some great shots there. And Rick, you or Omid had mentioned you were kind of near the front of the stage as well on some of the shots, weren't you?
Yeah, I found, actually what I wound up doing was sitting on the floor in between some people.
Oh, okay.
because the chairs were all gone, and I figured if nobody stepped on me, I was having a better day. And then every so often, when there was something worth doing it, I would, sort of crawl up to the stage and lean on it a little bit to get my images, and then crawl back.
Mark says that he rotated the image. The original image had the dragon facing up. So instead of being down like this, he's saying the head was up. So he rotated it so that it was down. And I really think having it down like that and those swirls just really get a lot of visual energy. If it were straight up, I don't think it would have the same effect. And by moving the head like that, like Rick is saying, his thought was the composition was more pleasing. In Lightroom, he opened up the shadows, he added texture and clarity, and he opened the exposure up about 1/3 of the stop and bumped the contrast. When you do contrast, what it typically does is it makes the darks, the blacks a little bit darker and the whites a little bit whiter. It has an algorithm where it searches for edges and kind of kicks it up just a little bit. But the key thing, like Marge was saying on her photo, she said, I played with the sliders. I cannot tell you how many times I know which sliders by looking at it that I want to work at, and I will play with them. But there's sometimes I will play with a slider that for some reason drew me to it, and it just had a really profound effect on the photos. So please play with all the different sliders. And as you get to process, edit more and more photographs, then you'll come to use it. Karen, I think you use the Photoshop, that's the web version, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So
Not very well, but yes, I do.
Karen, probably in 6 months between you and Marge, we'll get that figured out a little bit.
Maybe we need to get together, Karen.
Just sit there and play with our sliders.
That's right.
Amanda, what type of photo editing software do you use?
I have Lightroom and Photoshop.
Okay. I got to tell you, we've had many presentations, but if you listen to what these guys and ladies are saying this evening, this is 90% of making your photographs really nice. And I cannot tell you, Rick, when did it happen? October last year when they came out with the masking? I know it's been a little bit of time.
The original butchered version of the masking.
Yeah, when they came out masking in Lightroom.
Yeah, that was about the time.
It's just absolutely transformed how much easier it is to work the workflow. And Omit's using Adobe Camera Raw, same thing. He's got masking now. It has tremendously made the job of isolating what you want to edit so much easier.
And then when they went back and fixed the bizarre feature of the way the multi-stage masks worked in the original, we had to have that workaround to be able to work.
Yeah.
When they went back and fixed that, it's been 10 times better. It's wonderful now.
Yeah, really got nice. Okay, so Mark's third image, he was shooting ISO 800, so you notice he drops it down. So I'm going to ask Rick a question here, Amanda, but you can kind of be silently thinking the answer. So when you jump your ISO from 800 to 1600, how many f-stops will that increase or decrease? Well, in this case, will it change? Is it 1 stop, 2 stops, or 3 stops?
1 stop.
Right. So every time that you double your ISO, you gain an extra f-stop of light. What you lose, of course, is the introduction of more noise. So that's kind of like how that works. But it's really handy sometimes with this new product. I don't think it's new. It's been out for a couple of years with Topaz, with the denoise. It's really a great thing. And like Umit said, it doesn't just kind of take care of denoise. It also looks at sharpening at the same time as well. So it's really a nice product. When Black Friday comes, I think it's right after Thanksgiving. Typically, all the software companies, if you don't get a sale before then, it's a great time to kind of look at what the companies offer. The Black Friday or the next week is called Cyber Friday. And just kind of keep an eye out for any software that you're thinking about getting. I do agree with the comment. I wish Photoshop and Lightroom were as good as the Topaz products, but quite honestly, right here and now, I'd stick with Topaz if you're doing this stuff.
Can I ask
here's
a
Mark.
question about Topaz?
Sure.
It like I just got it. And it's like when you go into it, it does its thing automatically. Is that what you use, or do you like check it out and go, yeah, no, I think I can do better than that? Or like, how do you typically use it?
Mark and Uma, can I turn that over to you? Mark and Uma,
Thank
Rick
you,
and Uma,
Rick.
I'm sorry.
Sure, no problem. I start with the automatic and then look at it, whether I like it or not. And then I adjust the sliders accordingly and or change the motion blur to focus blur or vice versa.
And I think I'm on the older versions where the application is not consolidated. And it's probably a little bit different, but it's kind of the same thing. I'll use the automatic setting initially, and then I will it shows you the 2 windows, the current and if you push the yes button. And so I'll scroll around in that second window and look for areas that look weird. One of the things that can happen is the denoise can be a little too strong in some areas, and then you get these sort of weird artifacts in the image, and I don't want that. So when I see that, I'll go specifically to the denoise aspect and I'll back it down a little bit. What I've not really had problems with is the sharpening piece. Even if it seems like it's cranking up the sharpening quite a bit, usually I don't see that does any harm to the image, so I'll typically let that go. But it's all, you got to look at it.
Yeah.
And decide. And once you've got that dialed in, then you click go and it just processes it that way, throws it back to Lightroom, and now you can go do your, whatever other edits you're going to do in Lightroom.
So it appears that it's like you have to choose. You can either let it do the automatic. If you go in to change something, then the automatic function disables, right? And
Well, it has sticky memory. So if the last time you sent something out of Topaz was automatic, it's going to come up automatic when you bring something into it this time. If you alter something, it'll remember that, and the automatic button will be turned off. And the next time you throw a photo into Topaz, it'll be the same way you left it the last time. So every time I dump a photo into Topaz, I have to look at that.
Okay.
I don't know what I did last time, but it does.
Okay. Thank you.
And you can still click on the automatic once it's in there to see what it does and see if you like it or not. There's also, as Umit pointed out, a couple different levels of adjustment that you could choose from, sort of automatic settings, algorithms, what have you. But I almost always end up going a little bit in between, and especially on the denoise part of it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
Welcome.
So Mark shot, again, ISO 800, he's got it open up fairly wide at 3.2. And 1/1000th again. In this photo, you may not need 1/1000th, but this way, if she was waving the fan, then the 1/1000th would be kind of freezing it. As I remember, she just kind of presented the fan at this point, and here's Mark's words. Lucky shot, would have been better with a smaller aperture, maybe to get the eyes in focus. In Lightroom, I fixed the white balance, increased the exposure 1.75, so he drew it up quite a bit. He pulled the highlights down. So in other words, pull the highlights down, it gives you more detail in the whites. He opened up the shadows. He increased texture, clarity, vibrance, and saturation. So that's how he made it happen. But the beauty of the shot is the composition, where you can totally see her eyes in between the fan blades. It's just very,
Yeah.
very nice from a compositional standpoint. So, oops, my bad. So there's Mark's throw at it.
Wow, nice.
Amazing.
Okay, Mark, I'm sorry, Michael, I believe you're up now.
You muted, Michael. There you go.
Okay, can I share my screen?
Yes, please.
Absolutely. It's ready.
Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Now, yes.
Okay, so this is an after. I'll start with this one right here. This was a before, and this was a raw file. So I took it through Camera Raw and edited all the texture and vibrance. And I got this one right here. So I didn't like all the clutter in the background. So what I did for this one, and I'm in Photoshop now. So I just hit Y for, W to select subject, which Photoshop does a pretty good idea. Photoshop does a pretty good job at selecting the Photoshop. I'll just do a mock-up right here.
Amanda, I'm going to add to what Michael's saying. It's not good, it's magic.
And as you can see, it selected the subject really, really good. So I did a selected mask and basically created another layer, a new layer. So what I did here was create a adjustment layer of solid color, and I chose black just to match his samurai uniform. Whoops.
This answers the question was
Yeah,
presented earlier
Yeah.
about changing the color of the background.
Yes. And so once I did that, that's what I got. And think this is, no, this is, oh, well, I'm sorry, I forgot which background color I changed it to originally. But this was a great color too. So this is the final shot of that right there. Okay.
Nicely done.
And then
Yeah,
my next photo, oh, thank you. My next photo was this guy right here. Again,
Nice.
I took it through Camera Raw, did all the highlights, the contrast, and the texture and saturation. And it got,
Michael, you're on the drums.
so I was bothered by the guy in the back. Okay. So to remove him, I use the healing brush tool. And I won't go through the procedure, but this is the final, whoops. Well, open the wrong one. I ended up taking the guy out. Let me demonstrate a little bit. The healing brush tool is awesome.
Marge, don't you wish you had a tool like this when you're out on a date and it's not working well?
Absolutely. Priceless.
And that ended up basically, I guess I didn't do that one. Oh, yes, it did.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
There. That ended up like that.
Nice.
And then my last one was this guy. And again, I brought it through Camera Raw, did the texture, did the highlights, eliminated the shadows. And oh, I forgot to mention those first two, the ISO was a little high. So thanks to Rick, I think he told us about it in a previous meeting, Topaz denoise. I did run those first two through Topaz denoise. Thank you again, Rick. That is an excellent product, and I can't stress how much I've enjoyed using it. But yes, I used Topaz denoise on the previous two photos as well. And it took the noise out of it because I had to shoot them at a really high ISO. But returning to this one, since I loaded this in Photoshop, it was a plethora of objects that I just didn't want to see. The railing behind him and this microphone. So I basically did the same thing that I did to the guy with the samurai sword. I chose the subject and let Photoshop cut him out. And then just put him on a black background,
Nice.
eliminating the first microphone and the railing in the back. And that's it.
Amazing.
Nicely done.
Well,
Thank you.
Michael, I'm impressed how you're using Photoshop with the masking and all that stuff. Nicely done.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reason why I took him out is because looking at this, if I had used the healing brush tool, I would have been all over this photo. So I figured the easiest thing to do and the most efficient thing to do is just cut him, his guitar, and the microphone out, and then put him in a black background. So those are my 3 photos.
Well, thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. Judy,
job.
you're up
Nice
next.
job, Michael.
Oh, thank you.
I've already gone, so I don't need to do it again.
Why? He was sleeping. He was all right, though.
Okay.
You'd probably get bored if I did any more.
Yeah. Joy just hopped in the car to drive out to her nephew's house and drop off the birthday card. His birthday is tomorrow. I think what when I've sent out the email originally, I all of us shot the dragons, all of us shot a couple of the main events over and over again. And I asked folks if they could also show some of the other stuff. And Joy took it to heart. And she said this was a robe that was that was just hanging up for sale amongst the vendors. And it was just a little bit of a camera shake, but I used the texture in Lightroom to clean it up. I probably could have taken it into denoise and sharpen and may have gotten a little bit more out of it. But I think that it's good enough for just telling you, the viewer, what excellent embroidery work that was there at the fest. The other shot Joy took was were the fans.
Wow.
So she was up there. I kind of cloned out the clips and the price tags and some of the other stuff just to give you focus on the
Yeah.
fans. But I mean, I just love the artisanship that they had there. It was just gorgeous, just absolutely gorgeous.
Wouldn't this one be, this one right here, what strikes me, the first thing I would think about, select the 3 fans as object or subjects
Mhm.
and blacken the background again, just like we've been doing in there, I think would be fantastic.
I think personally, I'm not as, I kind of like having a background, but I like to kick it down a little bit.
Yeah,
I think it's what you said earlier, Ilas. It's what the artist interprets it.
exactly,
I
exactly.
like to have a little bit of detail in the background, and I like the lights, and it enjoyed it too.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we just
Then it's
kinda did it.
perfect. It's perfect.
What
So-
if you just increased the blacks a little bit? So it would like darken the.
Well, actually, I did just the opposite, Marge. I lightened it
Yeah,
because that fan was in the ceiling was almost totally black. And I wanted to have more detail.
Oh,
And-
okay.
Wait a minute.
yeah, I was thinking of just not, don't increase the black in the fan, but in the ceiling. It might make the fans pop forward a little bit more. Oh, no,
And again, I like seeing detail.
right.
Unfortunately, when I made a copy, I lost the history. So
So do it again.
no. And the reason being is contrast really helped pop this area right up here. I'm not a fan of contrast all that much. So if you move it on up, so Marge, you see how it darkens the darks?
Yeah,
And I just like having shades of gray in my image. And Joy agreed as well. So that's the reason we went to it. But contrast at times is a great way to snap things. It adds a nice little snap to photographs. Jeff, are you on the call? I knew Jeff was. He's got like another Zoom call with his coaching.
yeah, he's on here, but he's muted. But I don't know
Okay.
whether he's,
Why don't we give him just a second? Okay, well, Hylos, this is being recorded, so he can hear it later on, I guess.
that's right.
So here's a great action shot that Jeff took. And he, like Rick and Umit and me, we were kind of close to the stage at different times. And I just love this photo. I mean, you can look at the action.
I'm here.
Oh, okay, Jeff. Yeah, please, if you'll talk through your
Thank you.
image, please.
Well, I don't know if there's a whole lot I can say. I mean, I will say, being a rookie, I kind of cheated and used automatic and said I wanted to focus on the timing. So I tried to catch that just as he was striking the object, and looked like the timing was pretty good. So I'm happy with at least doing that. I need a lot of help on the post-production, which about editing, which you did help me with a bit there, Pat. Thank you. The main issue was all the white in the background. But my main focus was just trying to get a good clear shot and catching the action.
Well, you did
Yeah,
that.
and I just love his hair. His hair just says,
Yeah.
this is not a normal event. I am an uncaged animal. And the guys over there are holding the board and you can see them grimacing, you know, whether it's staged or not, I don't know. But Jeff, great shot. Really, really was.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Yeah, I had several I would have liked, but with the COVID and just, I need a lot of work on the Photoshop. I'll be honest. I got 3 or 4. I've got another one with the guy upside down that I really liked, but it was a mess.
If I can mention
know.
something Jeff is fighting here that Mark mentioned in his photos, he talked about pools of light. So the
Yes.
lighting was more of a floodlight. So they were hitting different parts of the stage. If you look at Jeff's guy jumping in the air, I'll say right as in viewer right, see how his leg is almost white? So what happened was that floodlight was hitting the performer's right leg as we view it, and there's nothing you could do about it. Yeah, you can go to Photoshop, you can clone some texture over and all that stuff, but it's you know, it's action, emotion. Jeff, you're just sitting there checking them off, buddy. Nice job.
make one
Oh.
comment about something Jeff said when he first got on here. He said being new to this, I don't remember exact words, but being new to this, he cheated and put it in automatic, but I don't think that's counted as cheating because most everybody will do that and then see as a starting point and then go from there.
Right.
Yeah, Jeff, really, what Mark said in his notes was he put his camera on manual. He set the aperture, he set the shutter speed, and he told the ISO, go figure it out. And it did a nice job on his, and
Yeah.
it got you this shot as well.
That's right.
Really, really
Yeah.
did.
I said I had the one I think was maybe even better, but it needed too much post-production. He's
Yeah.
upside down, his face is dark, and then a foot from another performer is coming out of his head. But it
That
looks,
sounds fun.
it
Exactly.
is. I don't know, how do you share? I'd share it, but I don't see the button here. I'm feeling, right in front of you. It's called share screen, Jeff.
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing, Jeff, and you can share.
Okay. Yeah. Can you?
Amanda, cute kid.
else?
Is that your?
Yeah, that's my shot. Look at the leg coming down
Yeah,
here.
this is the
When
baby
I
of
saw
4.
that, yeah, I
She's
just kind of
cute.
gave up and said, "There's too much work here."
No, all we can see is yours, but we haven't got your screen yet.
Oh, really? Okay. I wonder what. Well, I'm not used to sharing on Zoom, but okay. There we go. Perhaps
Yeah,
now it
that's-
works.
Yeah, there it is.
Wow.
Yeah. If I was one of you all as an expert, I might have seen, can I mask and clean up the face? But then I started looking at that leg. Wow, it's a new kind of creature. The timing was good, but not the composition.
I don't know about that. I mean, you discovered a new species. I think you had a pretty good day.
Sounds like
Yeah.
fun though.
I was happy with a lot of the timing shots, but got a lot of work on post-production. I'm sorry I couldn't join you guys. It's nice to be back human, done with COVID, done with bronchitis, sinus infection that I had the last week and a half too.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's good to have you back, Jeff.
I'll hand it back to you guys.
Well, thank you. Okay, last one up is me. So let me share again. Okay, here's how it went. So all the other folks did all the hard work. They went out to the different venues and the stages. They set up. They fought the audience. The audience kind of pushed back a little bit, and they had to figure out the lighting and everything. My job was a little bit easier once it was set up, was I just had a little studio set up right next to the stage. So as they finished, I would ask most of the folks, would they like to come over and have a photo session? So I was able to get about 9 or 10 different performers in different poses having a good time. So I picked 3 different actors, but the third one, well, the last one is actually 3 of, and you'll see why in just a moment. So Amanda, this is called cosplay. I didn't know what it meant until there. So all these folks are dressed up in costumes of the Japanese anime folks. And
Pat,
Karen, I did not see one quilt there the entire day.
if you want to be cool and hip, it's called cosplay.
Oh, well, I want to be cool.
It's cosplay.
Oh, you're too funny. I have no idea.
She's right, though.
I saw them out by the cafeteria section. They're all kind of walking around. I say, hey, would you like to have your photo taken? And they said, sure. Here's the lesson I learned. Whereas my generation, if you want to pose someone, you kind of have to talk them to it. I'm finding this generation is so attuned to posing for all these different applications that are out there. I did not have to ask them. I did not have to tell them how to pose. I just let them do their own thing.
They're
I
all
mean, it's
animated.
amazing. So it's kind of cool. So the point I'm trying to bring across in this photo is, I think the lesson I learned out of it was when you first set up, do the basic staging, figure out which one to sit, if you're going to have someone sit, and kind of get them generally in the area, and just be kind of loosey-goosey with them, and just let them do their thing. And with the younger generation, it worked out really well. So Amanda, your daughter will be in this in about 10 years or 15 years. So be advised.
Huh.
Here's another one. I think, Jeff, is this your guy here?
I
No.
don't know. His hair looks a little short.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
Close.
Here's my second lesson. Remember what I said the first slide. I set him up, I put him there. I had a little green tape marker on the floor. And I said, this is the area that I want you in. And I just said in my own words, do your own thing. And look what they came up with. Charlie's Angels 2022. I mean, what a deal. I mean, it was like shooting fish in a barrel. So
That's great.
great lighting. Here's one thing I want to point out to you is a little bit. If you look at viewer right on the right side, if you notice that the teenager has a little bit of light on the side of her, kind of giving her kind of a definition, and you see the guy's hand sticking up and a little bit of light on the side of his hand.
Mhm.
I actually had a main light, and I had 2 grid lights on the side. So the exposures were fairly close. The grid lights were just a little bit hotter, meaning the exposure was a little bit stronger, so I could get that kind of side lighting. I didn't want it to wash out the entire side of their face. So as you start playing around with studio lighting or just lighting your family and friends, getting the exposure on the main light is just great. But guess what? You've got a great rim light, and it's called the sun. So if you can balance the exposure between your flash on your camera or off camera, preferably, and the sun coming from behind them or on the side, you've got this great light that comes and kind of helps you accent your photograph. So my third photo, it's actually 3 photos. If you notice, Rick and a bunch of other guys and photos we sent on to Japanfest, did a lot of shooting of the dragon. So when the performance was over, as Anand and Jeff said, that the dragons came out once or twice during the day. So the first time I asked them, would they like to have their photo taken? They basically kind of went like this. But when they saw the other folks getting their photographs over there, it kind of loosened them up. So the second time they're on the stage, I asked them, would you like to have your photograph? I just made the assumption that they didn't remember, and I'm kind of obnoxious, and I asked them again. And one of the ladies, I found out it was really a language barrier. These three performers really didn't speak English. But there was a lady with them who was part of the overall show, and she told them what we wanted. The smile just went on their face. So here you go. So these are the three dragon performers. These are the folks inside of the dragons who are making the dragons go like this and stand up. And if you remember on that shot that Anand had, he had the dragon's head back and the pail where he's drinking the poison. And Rick had the shot where the lady was with the fan and the dragon had wrapped around her at the base of it. These are the three people inside of the dragon. So here's the guy who was inside of the red dragon. So
Nice.
Rick, there you go. There's the guy.
Very cool.
So so here's the red dragon guy. Now here's a point that I continually forget. Have you shot a wide angle picture of your family and you got 4 people in the front row and they're all properly exposed, and then there's 2 or 3 people in the back row and they're exposed as well, they're sharp, but their faces are smaller? And the reason being is that the wide angle favors things closer to the lens or bigger than they are as you get back. So if you notice this guy right here, watch how I did not move the camera. The performer may have moved a foot or so. Oh, here's a little BTS behind the scenes. There's actually a lady behind the guy holding up the curl of the dragon above him. And when you look at the original shot, right next to the viewer left side of his face, you can actually see her face back there. So I kind of gently cloned some of the dragon scales over to cover her up just a little bit. So kind of behind the scene thing.
Awesome.
So I just want you to look at the difference of what a foot or two makes in a photograph. So here's the guy. See how big his face is? So here's the lady who opted to move to the back of the dragon, probably about 2 feet back further, but just see how her face is a little bit smaller. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it, but I just want to let you be aware of what happens, especially because I was shooting about 70 millimeters with these guys. And
Really?
here's the third one. This is the white dragon. And I want to go back to the very first photograph where I told you, just kind of show them where to stand and let them do their thing. All 3 of the performers here chose how to stage the shot. I did nothing other than smile and gently move the dragon's head so it would be kind of perpendicular to the frame, and kind of got the antler that was kind of going into the front of his face out of it, and just move the camera over just a little bit. But the thing I just want to impress upon you, just have fun when you shoot. And other than the basic things to make sure you can see everyone's head, just kind of have fun and let people be kind of in charge of the shot and just have a lot of fun. So that's my story and I'm sticking to it.
There you go.
Hi, Luz.
Terrific shots, Pat. Those are really nice portrait shots.
I like those, yeah. You were saying something, Pat?
The evening is yours. Wrap it up, buddy.
All right, that's about it. Wait a minute.
Oh,
So if you thought you didn't get any pushback, look at the ladies' faces.
I tell you what, This was a motley crew, hardened by the day's activities. These ladies were tired when, I think we're shooting like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, weren't we?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so it was right there. Now, Omid, first of all, thank you for taking the photograph, but I just want you to impress upon you, if you see how close I am to the stage, but with the backdrop and with the lighting, you and I could have been 1,000 miles away from this. And because of how you compose the shot, all you're doing is focusing on the person and you get a great shot. So please don't fixate over where you are or what you got. Just make sure you got a clean background, good lighting, and a funny subject or one that wants to pose with you, and just have a good time.
Are we good then?
Thanks, Umit.
My pleasure.
So Amanda, last question. What's the name of your daughter?
That's Lulu, the baby.
Oh, okay. So I guess you have 2 or 3?
I have 4.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Are you working on a basketball team or what?
3 girls, 1 boy. My oldest is 11 and
Okay.
the baby is 3.
Oh, that's
Oh,
great.
that's wonderful. Enjoy them while you can. They'll be grown
Right.
by tomorrow.
Truly.
Well, if I can just open up to the audience, any comments before the vice president closes us down for the evening?
Nothing?
This was a nice idea. I'm glad we did it.
Yeah,
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 it
it was
worked
really
out-
cool to.
Worked out
see
well.
how-
We did, just as an aside, now Rick knows, the North Georgia is going to have something similar to this in what their annual editing thing, where they're going to send one picture to the whole club, and then each person will take that one picture and edit it their way and bring it back in and do what we've just done, go through and
That's
tell
cool.
how they did what they did. And I watched it last year, Rick, as you know, it was amazing, the differences that 6 people, you get 7 different ways of doing it and 7 different looks. It was amazing what happened, but maybe we can do that one time next year sometime.
Yeah,
Well,
that'd
how
be
is,
great.
You
as
had
far as the
people-
photo is,
You had people take that
can you
file
give
and
us an
and
idea
take
what
a
it looks like?
completely
Wait a minute.
artistic approach to it. And then you had other people who just took an absolutely insane approach to it. I mean, we had Godzilla traipsing across one of those images. It was hilarious. So
Yeah,
much fun. They call it their edit challenge, and they do it every year.
So Rick, as far as the image, can you talk about what the basic photo was?
The one from last year was a building.
out in the,
Was it a barn or something, Hylos?
it was a bar out in the open. It was just a
Yeah.
single building in the middle of a big open field.
Yeah, and they're typically train wrecks, the exposure is off and they're out of kilter and there's a lot of things that need to be fixed just to make it a decent image. We
But it's
usually
ab- but-
pick a bad one on purpose.
But is-
But the fun part is seeing where people go with it after just the basic cleanup.
Yeah, some of them made it look amazing and some of them made it look more ridiculous. It was fun to watch.
Yeah,
And the different people, the people have certainly got different ideas of what it's supposed to look like. That same picture.
yeah.
But anyway, I enjoyed tonight very much.
Yeah, it worked out well. Dee Dee and Amanda, hope to see you next year at the Japanfest. It's really a lot of fun. It really is. And
Looks
there
like it
was a
was.
lot more going on there than we showed you this
Oh,
evening. So,
It would have been great. I've been babysitting grandkids. I took them to Chalktoberfest and that was an experience for them.
that's
Well,
good.
let me do one more thing. Pat, I didn't go to Japan Fest, but let me show you something here on, I'm gonna share a screen. Here, this is, I think we talked about this one time last
Oh,
time,
yeah,
but
Oh, yeah.
Come on. See this one?
Oh,
That got my attention tremendously, but then the way it finally ended up, let's see here.
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
But there was a man's, well, let me see if I can go do it again.
Oh, you cloned him out.
Yeah, see,
Ah,
see, we got that, and then,
Yeah.
whoops, that's not what I wanted to do.
well, Hylos, I'm impressed
Why?
because I didn't think you knew how to do that stuff, man. Nice job.
Yeah, this one there, that's the one which showed, got rid of this guy with the, what was it, the patch tool and quick select, got rid of him and all, and there was somebody else's hand over here. I got rid of that. But that was fun.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Magic.
yeah, magic. That's right. That's right. All right. Well, thank you all for coming tonight. Glad it worked out as well as it did.
Yeah, it really did work out nicely. Yeah, thanks,
All righty.
everyone. Let's do it again sometime.
Yeah, see y'all next time.
Good
Bye-bye.
idea.
Bye.
Good,
Take
have a
care.
good.
Thank you.
Good
Good night.
Here, folks.
night.